Relevance. Warpugs, today we're going to be checking out some Fat Electrician, and I got a little friend over here. This little tiny. We're going to be listening to about the A37 Dragonfly, aka the Super Tweet. And, this little guy's going to be providing commentary for me. So, guys, Fat Electrician, all of his links are in the description down below. I hope you guys go out and check him out. I looked for because I have a whole bunch of his shirts, I really do, but I didn't have anything. I had nothing. Nothing's out and washed right now, so I'm sad. I'm utterly sad. Normally, I'd like to promote his merchandise when I do a video from him, but yeah, I'm terrible, and it's known.
The wife's been busy with home since for the washing the laundry.
The peanut gallery just said something. That's amazing. Yes, you agree, don't you? Guys, the super tweet. This is my version of a super tweet right here. Look at it. It just pecked me. It just pecked me. And the cat is very interesting. He's like, hey, nuggets. All right. You want to go up? You want me to go put you up? Yeah, there's a bunch of little chicks. There's a bunch of chicks everywhere. No, you don't want to go down there and visit the war crime cat. I call it the war crime cat for a reason. Guys, this is called a Polish crested. Is that what it is? Polish crested?
It's really just Polish.
Just Polish.
Polish chicken.
Yes, he wants to fight the Russians. He wants to fight the Russians. Look at his little face. Look at his little face. Look at that. Alright, guys. 1 second. So, the A37 Dragonfly, my guys. So, we're going to check this out. Fat Electrician, all of his links in the description down below. Pick yourself up a shirt. Check out my links in the description below. Pick yourself up a shirt. I have how many chickens in my living room right now? 37. We have 37 chicks. The wife is going a little bit too hard with this. So far the count is 37 chickens and 3 ducks. And here's the thing, like, she's insufferable right now because of this. Guys, the bird is the word, as we're quickly finding out. 37?
I believe. It could be plus or minus 3 because of the eggs that didn't hatch.
Oh, and she did really well as far as the chickens went when it came to caring for them right after they were born, because you typically lose about 25% of new hatchlings. They typically don't make it, but all of hers made them. All of hers made it. Like, she didn't lose a single one. It was pretty good.
There was a few Petrogo.
Yeah, but she has preserved l'on chicken. All right, so let's go.
Everybody already knows about America's gun with wings, the A-10 Warthog, and a ton of more people already know that its grandpa is the original Thunderbolt, the P-47, and its dad is the A-1 Skyracer. But pretty much nobody talks about the A-10's mom, which is actually where it got the DNA for a nose-mounted minigun. Today we're talking about the A37 Dragonfly, aka the Super Tweet.
Oh. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a 5,000-pound fighter jet carrying 3,000 pounds of napalm. That is literally a ton and a half of firepower in a very small package.
It doesn't look that big.
Series 4 deatomizer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Noisy cricket.
And on the off chance that 3,000 pounds of jungle jelly wasn't going to be enough to get the job done, it also has a Gao 2 minigun underneath the hood, capable of firing 3,000 rounds per minute.
Quite literally under the hood. Like, Mom's coming strapped, okay?
The only downside with that was it could only actually carry 1,500 rounds with it, but hey, it's going to be a wild 30 seconds.
It was okay at best.
I wasn't talking to you. Anyways, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, the A37 is the aerial equivalent of a go-kart covered in guns. This thing is absolutely tiny. To put it into perspective, the F-4 Phantom, which was the other fighter jet used all the time during Vietnam, was weighing in at 55,000 pounds, and the Dragonfly is coming in at 5. However, despite its small stature and the fact that it gets literally no recognition for it at all, it is arguably the most effective fighter jet of the entire Vietnam War. Once upon a time in 1952, the United States Air Force came out and said, hey, we need to incorporate more jets into our fleet. The only problem is we don't have many pilots that actually know how to fly a jet, so we need to get a new type of jet trainer plane that we can train all of our pilots on. Cue the Cessna T-37. It was absolutely perfect. It was small, cheap, easy to take off, easy to land, super easy to fly, and it had side-by-side seating for an instructor and a student.
Nice.
This jet was so perfect that it was actually the U.S. Air Force's primary jet trainer for 52 years. It didn't retire until 2009. The only...
And this is... So, in military terms, and in life, the terms, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. People stick by that kind of statement almost religiously sometimes, and not necessarily in the best way possible. But if you have something that, like this, with that kind of shelf life, and it can still do the job that you need, it still does the job that you needed to do, and you don't see any reason to do any vast improvements, why not keep it?
The problem with the T-37 is that it generated a very, very high-pitched shrieking noise while it was running.
Sweet. That is small plane.
That noise unaffectionately earned it nicknames like the Screamin' Mimi, the 6,000-pound dog whistle, my personal favorite, the Converter, due to its unique ability to convert fuel into fucking noise, and of course, the Tweety Bird, which would later be abbreviated to simply the Tweet. And that's pretty much all you need to know for right now. Fast forward to Vietnam. All right, so Vietnam, basically the United States is finding out the hard way that ultra-fast fighter jets like the F-4 simply are not that great at providing close air support to troops on the ground. As it turns out, it's pretty hard to aim a bomb while you're traveling at the speed of Mach fuck and actually hit the target. Who'd have thunk? And as we've talked about in a previous video, this is actually where the Navy's A-1 Skyraider is performing way better than anybody thought it should, due to its ability to fly low and slow and actually engage a target accurately. The Air Force, seeing all the Navy's success, said, hey, we need to do the same thing. The only problem was the Air Force didn't have Skyraiders, and they didn't have the time to come up with a whole new plane, so what do? You take the Air Force's T-37 trainer jet that every pilot you've had has been trained on for the last 2 decades, cover it in guns, and send that bitch into combat, obviously. Okay, obviously they didn't just cover it in guns, they also gave it a cool paint job, they swapped out the engines, gave it a couple of General Electric J85s. Those are 3 times more powerful than the...
Imagine learning how to ride a tricycle, and then you suddenly ride a jet bike from 40K. About the same fucking principle, it looks like.
The original engine, and they ran so hot and the Dragonfly sat so low to the ground that it would actually melt the asphalt beneath it if it didn't get going once they started it. And then also, I don't know why I think this is so cool, but I do, these little nub thingies on the
My god, that is a small plane.
end of the wings now, those are extra fuel tanks. Each one of those holds 95 gallons of fuel so that it had a better combat range. So the Air Force created this badass little fighter jet. The only problem now was none of the actual fighter pilots wanted to fly it because it wasn't cool enough. It was too small, it was too slow, blah, blah, blah.
Of
so
course.
the Air Force was like, well, I mean, technically, pretty much every pilot we have has been trained on this thing, so fuck it. They just started pulling pilots from other places like refuelers, supply, cargo pilots, everybody.
Why not?
And they just started putting them in these little fucking jets and sending them into combat. Surely this is a recipe for disaster, right?
No.
Wrong. The Dragonfly and its not fighter pilots would immediately go on a rampage. They quickly became the most accurate close air support aircraft in the entire Vietnam conflict. Their average accuracy was within 45 feet of the designated target. 45 feet doesn't sound very close to me. Dude, we're not talking about playing darts here. This is 3,000 pounds of fucking jungle jelly and white phosphorus. Believe me, the only difference between a bullseye and 45 feet is maybe enough time for you to say, oh fuck, before you wake up dead. Not only was the A37 Dragonfly absolutely devastating to the enemy, but it was also virtually untouchable in the most comical way possible. You see, enemy anti-aircraft gunners were accustomed to firing at F-4 Phantoms traveling at like 1,400 miles an hour. But when the Dragonfly showed up topping out at like 500 miles an hour, the enemy anti-aircraft gunners would always overshoot, so the Dragonfly pilots just got to fly and watch all the flak and shit explode like 5 miles in front of them, and then they just got to drive right through it after the fact. Maybe the best example of slow is smooth and smooth is fast I've ever heard. Which brings us to the second chair in the phallic excavation. I mean dick dimple, I mean cockpit. Second chair in the cockpit. Remember how I told you they were side by side, one for student, one for instructor? Well, in the combat version, the Dragonfly, they didn't need a second pilot or a spotter or anything, so the chair just went empty most of the time because, well, it was more weight for sticky fire. That was until word got out that these planes pretty much never got shot down, and then all the bigwigs wanted to go on a ride so they could be in a combat mission. If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that that second seat in the A37's cockpit, it's kind of like that chair in the corner of the hotel room. It pretty much goes unused, and if it is being used, whoever's in it's probably just there to watch. I cannot believe I made that fucking joke.
Whoa. Points to Gryffindor.
But wait, there's more. Not only is it super accurate, not only is it very safe, it's also extremely easy to maintain and really cheap. The Dragonfly has a 2-to-1 maintenance ratio, meaning that for every hour it's flying, it requires 2 hours of maintenance. This means you can give 2 Dragonflies to a crew of maintainers, and they're able to keep one of those birds in the air 24/7 all the time if that's what the mission requires. This is the epitome of accuracy by volume. So just to be clear, when it comes to close air support during Vietnam, it is the most accurate, the safest, and the easiest to maintain aircraft, and you get all of that for $400,000. And that is exactly why nobody knows about this fucking plane. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'll explain it just a little bit slower. The United States military just took a bunch of pilots with subpar training for the tasks that they were assigned, stuck them inside of subpar fighter jets, and then sent them into combat. And then they somehow outperformed the fighter pilots that had actual fighter pilot training and the enormous, super expensive fighter jets.
Yeah, I'm getting why now.
Now be honest, do you really think that the politicians and high-ranking military officers that are in charge of budget-related shit are gonna let the world know that? Absolutely not.
And see, this is what irritates me about military requisition and everything else like that. This apparently was a very cheap salute, like comparatively. Cheap, easy to use, easy to train, easy to maintain, everything that you're looking for in terms of a fighter, in terms of a, you know, a solution to a problem. But we don't know about it because it wasn't big and flashy and expensive. Okay.
Okay, we can't have everybody running around knowing that the napalm coming out of a $400,000 plane is just as hot as the napalm coming out of a $5 million plane. It'll be fucking anarchy. As far as the world needs to be concerned, the more money we spend to kill a motherfucker, the more dead he is. I guess. Stupid. So the war in Vietnam ends and the US military cannot get rid of these dragonflies fast enough. They are literally giving them out for free like they're fucking candy. They're giving some to Australia. They're giving some to the South Vietnamese. They're giving a bunch to the countries in Central America. Some of the ones that went to Central America are still in service today. That shows you how badass this plane really was.
Not surprised.
So they give away all these perfectly good planes for free, but then trouble would strike because now guess what? Oh no, America doesn't have a close air support plane anymore. Who could have predicted this?
You'd be surprised at how much equipment, when I was in the military, I saw that was ours that other countries are maintaining right now as part of their military entire complex. My favorite example of this was pulling into Ascaz, Turkey, and looking around the harbor and being like, is there another fleet here that I wasn't told about? Well, why am I seeing all these Oliver Hazard Perry class frigates everywhere?
I guess we better just, you know, build a new one. It's gonna be bigger. It's gonna be better. The minigun in the nose this time is gonna be absolutely enormous, and it's all gonna come at a price tag of like fucking 20 times as much. But hey, politicians gotta feed their kids somehow, right? Ladies and gentlemen, the best thing to ever come out of political corruption, the A10 Warthog, aka America's gun with wings. We have now officially come full circle. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the A37 Dragonfly is the most effective fighter jet that you've probably never heard of, and it's all because it and the men that flew it were way too good at their job for their price tag. Thank you for watching the video. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang. Out. You know, next time the U.S. government's going to give away some fighter jets, they could at least raffle them off to the taxpayers that paid for them, because I'd like a fucking Dragonfly.
Yeah.
Fucking Dragon Balls to fucking dead.
Guys, in a sane world, we would be using stuff like the Dragonfly all the time. In a sane world. But we don't live in a sane world. We live in this utterly ridiculous piss pit of a planet that we are on right now, where so much crap is happening, and low-cost solutions to problems are just something that people don't want to even think about when it comes to it, because there's no payday in that. There's absolutely no payday in that for them. Until war breaks out somewhere and the economically deprived country finds a way to take a drone that costs under a couple of $1,000s and turn it into one of the most effective war machines of all time, as in when the Ukrainians sat there and started using drone warfare against the Russians. Guys, this jet is the coolest thing that I've heard of. When I saw it first off, I was like, wow, it doesn't look very stable flying through the air, until you see how small the damn thing is. The thing, it's probably about 12 to 14 feet long. That's it. On a jet. That is microscopic, okay? And then you take into effect everything else you said. The most accurate, least amount of maintenance needed on anything else. That is a low-cost, high-production piece of machinery. This thing should be. We should, like, with a couple of upgrades, we should still be using this thing now. I'm just saying, we should still be using this or an upgrade package to this now, unless I know why we have to do stuff like this. I know why we have to have things like this going on. I'm gonna ask a friend of mine about this, just to get his idea, get his gauge on, you know, everything about this, and just see, you know, where thought process aligns on this. But this just seems like an example of a missed opportunity in terms of it. Guys, I'm gonna head out from here. Thank you so much for watching. Check the links in the description below for all of Fat Electrician's links, my links as well. Get a shirt from him. Get a shirt from me if you want to. Join as a member of Patreon for early access. And I'm going to look at the super tweets that are in my living room right now underneath the heat. Later, Warpugs.